Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It is Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, and here we are in the Ides of August. The Eagles are getting close to their first preseason game. It's going to be Thursday night against the Cincinnati Bengals. They have had some practices. It is, of course, Geoff Mosher here with Adam Caplan, and we will go through the last few practices, what we've learned, what we know, what we've seen, and then set you up for a pretty big week coming ahead. We'll have Inside the Birds, obviously, today, Monday. For those who are listening in the morning, we're going to have another one Tuesday. We'll have an Inside the Data with Sam Finkel. We had one last week that was really good. We'll have another one this week, Wednesday, and then Thursday morning. We'll hit you with what to look for in the preseason game against the Bengals. And then, of course, we'll have Eagles-Bengals preseason wrap-up later in the week as well. So you ready for a big week, Adam?
Yeah, man, this is the first full week of preseason. We had an awful Hall of Fame game. My old friend Sterling Sharp got in the Hall of Fame. That was quintessential Sterling. If you haven't seen his speech, it was pretty interesting. He is. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed. I worked with him 2002, and I mean, you're talking about. No offense to Jerry Rice, was the best receiver in NFL history. Had he never gotten hurt with a neck injury, which ended his career, Sterling probably would have been a better player. Now, people would say there's no way the numbers are better. You have to talk to NFL people. Talk to Mike Holmgren, who was who obviously was on Mike Shanahan's staff. And Bill Walsh's staff. So he knew about Jerry because he was there then, and obviously he coached. He was with Green Bay, so he knows. So it's Sterling wasn't. He was, and the thing is, if you've seen Sterling up close, he's only 6 feet even, but the biggest hands you've ever seen.
Yeah,
one of the strongest hands you've ever seen. And as he told me, he played mostly inside. You couldn't cover him; he's too strong.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to your point, Adam. I don't know if you remember Shannon's Hall of Fame induction, but in his speech, he said he has to be the only player in the Pro Football Hall of Fame who's not even the best player in his own household.
Yeah,
so that was a real nod to Sterling and how good. You're right, he was so good. It was sort of like the Terrell Davis thing, like so good in such a short amount of time. Obviously, he came before Terrell Davis, but right, he was because Sterling Sharp was early 90s.
Oh yeah. Well, Sterling was done around 95, and Terrell Davis, I believe, was the first round of 96. 96 or 97. No, what I remember about Terrell Davis is that the game over in Japan when he was on special teams, and Mike Shannon said, if you want to make a team, do what this guy just did. He had an incredible stick tackle in specials. Not against the 49ers, I think. But look, obviously Jerry Rice played into his 40s, so his numbers probably would have been better overall, but the better player, Sterling Sharp was like uncoverable. Like he just was an amazing player, super smart. John Hanson and I did we were on the Playbook Show, which is a knockoff of the Matchup Show on ESPN. We did a fantasy segment and got to know him and Solomon Wilcott's Glenn Parker. You might remember Glenn Parker played for the Chiefs and Giants, but learned so much about football, the storytelling. Sterling doesn't hold anything back. He tells you what he thinks. Learn a lot about football. Really, really great situation.
Yeah, it was a really unique Hall of Fame class. I mean, you had Antonio Gates, the first player in the history of the game to make the Hall of Fame without playing college football. But he did play college sports. He played college basketball, and he was good. And just watching him become a tight end and a Hall of Fame caliber one at that was pretty amazing. And I actually watched the Hall of Fame game deep into the third quarter. I must have some sickness.
Seriously,
I don't know. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I did. Yeah. Well, I was like, "Oh, Kamani Vidal." I kind of liked him last year. I thought he might get more involved in the offense, but the running backs actually stayed fairly healthy for the Chargers. And then there were a couple other guys I like seeing. How about my guy, former Penn Stater? He transferred to Auburn, Keandre Lambert-Smith. He might be a nice little sleeper. He's got some speed at him.
Yeah, he scored in that game. And Isaac Tesla, who was a rookie, he had a good game. But I mean, I know receivers coach a game a third round grade. A 6th round grade. He could not believe that the Lions, I think, drafted him third. And then Craig Reynolds, who we met at it's from here. He went to Bloomsburg. He went to Abington High.
Yep.
Near me, where I grew up in Cheltenham. They were a rival. Yeah, and then Amari Hampton, the first round pick for the Chargers, played. So that was good. And Trey Lance, it's funny. I forget who it was funny. I forget who posted it, but it's so true. A lot of us probably forgot Trey Lance was with the Chargers. So now we know.
Yeah, I definitely did. So we'll see. We'll see if this latest iteration of coaching staff for him can make him into it. They were making a big deal over how Harbaugh has been so good with like Kaepernick and other Alex Smith coaches who have mobility. And I'm like, this guy was drafted by the 49ers. I mean, there's very few coaches better than Shanahan at getting the most out of a quarterback. And then he went and was with the Cowboys, right? Wasn't he with was not with Kellen Moore, but with Schottenheimer, I guess?
No. He was with Shotty technically.
That was his position coach, though, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I'm just saying about calling the plays. It was McCarthy after Kellen. Remember he let Kellen go, and then Kellen went to San Diego, or excuse me, LA with the Chargers.
Right.
But anyway, so
my point is he's been around some pretty good offensive minds and good quarterback minds.
No, I agree with you. So a couple things. So we've actually have a roundtable which will drop Tuesday with Andrew. Andrew's back with us for Tuesday's show. We have our Patreon live chat on Wednesday, Discord, but the big thing for Patreon is getting commercial free and get shows earlier in the public, but get commercial free for those of us who pay for subscriptions like myself. I subscribe to a couple of them around the world here, and it is good not to have to listen to commercials. I get that part of it, but that's patreon.com/InsideTheBirds.
All right, great stuff. Adam, let's start with because we are now, I believe, 8 practices through. 8. Yep. When I say 8 practices, I mean media open. They're practicing no walk. I'm not counting the walkthroughs. 8 practices through, and we've got some injuries to talk about. Now, Ben Van Sumeren has been out for a couple, and that was the result of honestly, it probably shouldn't have happened, but Jihaad Campbell knocked him to the ground a little bit, and I saw it. I didn't see the actual collision because there were too many bodies, but I saw him get up and start limping off the field, and it didn't look great. But I don't think it's going to be anything really, really long term, but he continues to be out with the ankle injury.
Yeah, he took mental reps on Sunday. I was watching him. This one's disappointing because he's been very quietly a star of like 3 practices. Montrell Johnson, the undrafted free agent out of Florida. See, this is the thing with him. If you're an undrafted free agent, you could be lighting up. But if you can't get on the field, particularly for the preseason, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to make the team. So he's got a hamstring injury. He took mental reps. I saw him number 34. So what I do is I scan, my lineup sheet. Okay, who's not working, who's working, but what are they actually doing? Are they out there watching? Mm-hmm. What are they doing? AJ, now we know AJ Brown, who didn't work the second half of Friday's practice. He's got a hamstring injury. He was out there. He got out there after practice started. Terrace Marshall with the knee. Trevor Keegan with a back. When I was watching the drills on Sunday, he was taking mental reps, number 77. Well, you got to call him now, not just a guard. He's getting reps at center.
Yep.
Zach Bond with a back contusion. I watched him. He was taking shadow. He was moving. He's just taking shadow reps, like just moving around a little bit, maybe to loosen the back up. Lewis Steen now has got the hamstring. He's a major long shot to make it. I'd be shocked if he made it. He just hadn't stood out. And
he had actually gotten some second team reps, I think, in the practice before, and then all of a sudden now the hamstring.
Yeah, he hasn't really stood out. Mac McWilliams, who, by the way, you can't just call him a nickel. He's actually got cornerback reps. We have to always remember, because Vic Fangio is very distinctive with this. Corner is a corner, a nickel's a defensive back. They're 2 different positions, and he's got reps at both. He's played cornerback. He's got a quadriceps. I saw him out of practice, limited. Devontae Smith back from the back tightness. They're not. Now, here's the cool thing. He got work immediately, and he made plays immediately. And it's funny because I'm like, wait a minute. Is that – because, it's hard when they're wearing the green jerseys. It's hard to see. Is that 8? Well, it can't be 8.
Right.
That guy's on defense. That's Adoree Jackson. It's got to be 6. And Devontae made some really good plays. Good to see E.J. Jenkins back out there with a hamstring issue. Charlie Hewlett, the long snapper's got a neck issue. He was limited. Nolan Smith, because he's coming back from concussion, didn't work very much at all. Barely saw him. Jihaad Campbell coming back from labrum surgery. If each practice they have 40 reps, he's getting 30 of them because he's practicing a lot.
At least.
Exactly. Like, it's funny because they pretty much play with Bond out. They play the same 2 guys with the ones.
Yeah.
It's Campbell at will, and it's Trot Jr. as the mic.
Yep.
And Drew Makuba's back from the shoulder. They're not giving him a ton of reps because he's coming back from that shoulder ding. So you got to be careful with that. See, here's the problem with, and I'll be interested to see if Sirianni is willing to answer this question. Are they going to expose Campbell to preseason because he's coming back from major shoulder surgery?
I'd be pretty shocked. I think he'll play in a preseason game. I just don't think it'll be the first one.
Well, here's the thing. The following week, they've got 2 joint practices versus the Browns.
Yep.
Because clubs look at that. That's why a lot of veterans don't play now, because they've got the joint practices, and so that's everyone else is back. The one that's disappointing really is also Terrace Marshall, he was the best backup receiver, and it's not a knock on Elijah Cook, who's been a nice story, but Terrace Marshall showed up at every practice.
Yeah,
and I like the way that they used him, moving him around a little bit, but he's just not working, and he's got this knee issue from last week.
Yep. I'm trying to look, as we go through these injuries, Bond's been out for a little bit with that back contusion, but he's been out there. Sometimes you don't see guys, if they're really hurt, they're working with trainers inside. So and in fact, I think most of these guys have been out there watching, like you said, getting the mental reps. So none of these seem like some really bad. I'm speculating a little bit here, but you can tell when you don't see a guy for a couple of days because he's inside that he's not in good shape. And it doesn't seem like that's the case with too many of these guys here.
No, they're all out there. No, in fact, I'll take this to another level. Typically, when they're not out there, they're getting treatment. They're in the training room. Like if it's a knee injury, it might be iced, but whatever they use to get the knee going. Yeah, I didn't see Terrace Marshall out there. He might have been out there. I just didn't see him. And AJ Brown came. He might have been getting treatment on the hamstring because he wasn't there at the start of practice, but he was there shortly after wearing a sweatshirt. Then he took it off. I noticed this meaningless stuff. Don't ask me why. But I just look at my notes here, and I'm like, okay, I have like 3 pages of notes of formations, and there's something that I noticed. I knew this is. I saw it last week, and I forgot to mention it. When we get to what we've seen through 8 practices, and we move stuff along, we'll talk about it in a couple minutes. But transactional wise, Danny Gray, as I expected to happen, was waived off IR with injury settlement, as was Marcus Tate, who's come back from a major knee injury from college at Clemson. And you're not going to pay a guy when you're on IR, you get paid. Like if he was on IR during the season, Danny Gray would get paid. They're obviously not going to pay him because he's not going to contribute. So, but with injury settlements, you could come back in around 2 months. It's whatever the settlement in terms of time has to elapse. It's what the agreement is between the agent and the club, and what the doctor how long they say he's going to come back. So it's typically around 2 months, depending on the severity of it. So it's a shame, man. I know he talked a big game and he had a really good offseason, but just unfortunately he didn't contribute with the Niners really because he was hurt also.
Yeah. Hope for his sake, you hope that he heals up quickly and then can come back and then sort of prove himself. You can still prove yourself like he did last year on the scout team and in practice. And if injuries happen or if there's a spot that opens, you can still claim it. It just would have been nice to see him get the entirety of training camp and not be injured to show that.
For sure.
All right. You had some workouts, right? You noticed?
Yeah. Here are the 4 workouts they've had since the start of camp. Colton Dowell is a tall receiver, just under 6'3". He was drafted by the Titans in the 7th round a couple years ago. He had an ACL injury 2 years ago. So this is the kind of guy you want to work out because he was a drafted player. Then 2 out of the 3 defensive tackles they signed. One is Joe Evans. Joe Evans was he an undrafted free agent this year? Yes, out of UTSA. I was with the Colts in their offseason program, then cut. And then Jacob Sykes, who I did see him on Sunday wearing 90. See, it's funny. He had an interesting body type. So I'm like, wait, is he? I had to look at my lineup sheet. I'm like, oh, wow. Because he's 6'2.5" and under 290.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, he's one of those tweeners. So he did line up. He's a little bit older. He actually has been in the league since 23. He was signed as a undrafted free agent by the Seahawks in 2023, but he had bounced around. I believe he was in the UFL or whatever they call it, the USFL. I don't know how they call it, USFL. But the Eagles signed him right at the start of camp, and that's it so far. Yeah.
The other guy, Evans, is completely opposite. He is like 337 pounds. He's a big dude. He's like a nose tackle type. If you can compare,
sounds like it by size. Yeah.
Evans 6'2", 337.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's wearing 61. And immediately, who do I think of? Who is the center that the Eagles signed from? And he turned out to be a bust. Free agent. The guy with the long blonde hair from Michigan. Who
Christie? No.
No. He he signed a big free agent deal. Steve. Oh, I could see him in front of me. Long blonde hair, looked like a biker.
This is the 90s, right?
No, it would have been early in Andy's career. You're in the right time frame. I think it was like everyone's saying this as they listen. Dude, it's Steve
Everett. Steve Everett?
Everett, you got it. Good job.
Yes. Yeah.
He was a straight up dude, though. He was a straight up dude. Like he I remember he was really good with the media, but he just was not quite what they thought when they got him.
That's true. All right, good stuff. So those are the transactions and workouts and things like that. Let's get through what we know now. This is really the second week of practice. We just had the second full week of practice that we're
it's the first full week. The first week was only 3 days. This was 5.
This week? No, this past week though was the first.
Yes,
week.
It was the first.
That's what I meant.
Week.
That's what I meant. I'm meaning this one we're going into now is going to be the second full week of practice. Although even I guess it's not really full because they have the off day before the preseason games, right?
Correct. Because Wednesday, the way it works is today's practice will be normal. Tuesdays will be light, like a Friday practice. Wednesdays a walkthrough. Thursdays a game.
Right. And Fridays
they can't practice. Yeah, they can't practice Friday by rule. You can't practice the day after. Although Chip Kelly would try it. So this past week they had 5 practices plus the walkthrough and the 1 day off on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful on Sunday, I'll say, and so was Saturday. But so here's what we do know for I as I said last week, let's wait till we get through the first full week before we start making proclamations. Yep. We could definitely make some proclamations. They know who their starting 11 is on offense. That's not a debate.
Yeah, and that's to the point. Tyler Steen is one. I mean, it's not even a secret. Yeah. Tyler Steen is the right guard. Jeff Stoutland has talked about how impressed he is. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter have talked about how impressive Tyler Steen has been. So, I mean, he's been the first team right guard. There's no injuries. He's not losing it. There's nobody pushing him per se. So he is, your first week 1, Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Tyler Steen will be starting at right guard, barring any injury between now and then.
Correct. Yep. Well, it's funny you say that. Here's my question. Let me throw this back at you. What do you think they would do if Steen got hurt for 2 weeks? And who do you think would run with the ones?
It's a great freaking question. I think if they had to put a right guard in right now, it would probably be Matt Pryor.
I agree 100%. That's where I was going to go. It's not Drew Kendall. I haven't seen him at guard at all.
Yeah, not Darren
Kennard. Yeah, Kennard's got some work in there, but Pryor's ahead of him, and Pryor's got positional versatility.
Yeah, so I'm starting to wonder. Well, when we get to offensive line, I'll talk about this. I think that they might be doing something a little differently this year, and we'll get into that. But as of now, it would be Tyler Steen, and looks like next man up would be Matt Pryor. So
yep.
Running back, I think we're far enough along now where we can at least be pleased with AJ Dillon's practices. He's not been hurt. I think he had a back for 1 day or something like that, but basically he's been fine. They're giving him the ball. I'm seeing him run. I think he actually looks like he's got some good juice for guys his size. For his size, he's not like Will Shipley or anything, but he's moving well. I when I say juice, I saw one play where he kind of did a cutback and got skinny through a hole. So I was impressed with that, and that's good. We wanted to see at this point, Adam, if he was still practicing and the neck was holding up and everything like that.
Yeah, it is. But it's funny. See, you can't, if you know this from going to practice, when the practice is on the, let's say, like I stood on Sunday, I was behind the goalposts, right in front of the stands that are in the back, where Andy wouldn't let anyone sit or put their hand on the rail, and I get screamed at. Hey, get your hand off that rail. I'm like,
now everybody's on it, but it's funny.
They want people to sit. It's funny because they don't want to block views. But anyway, so I couldn't quite see them. It's either 26 or 29. I'm like, I know who it is. Look at the thighs, the quads.
Quadzilla.
Yeah, it's obvious and also Barkley, Dillon had he had the pants higher, where Barkley was wearing. I don't know what he was wearing underneath him, but you could see that. But the big thing is Dillon's quads are huge. So, and obviously the way that they move, it's funny because when I was watching Goddard and Harrison Bryant, because it's 85 and 80, and I go, I know that's Goddard because the way he's moving.
Yeah.
It's not even close. No offense to Harrison Bryant, but Goddard, we'll get to tight end. I know he can't get the ball out because Brown and Smith are going to lead them, but my God, second straight training camp, I've never seen anyone cover him other than Ringo made it. We'll talk about it later. Ringo made a nice play, but you need to know the background on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just kind of funny because it's if they didn't have Brown or Smith, he's an 80 catch easy 80 even even if he only plays 14 games. Games. He's going to average 5 catches a game if one of them couldn't play this season. That's the way it is.
No doubt about it. So I guess with the running backs, to put a bow on that, I mean, if things continue along this trajectory, Adam, it would be I think all three are fine for the 53. That's obviously Saquon, it's obviously Will Shipley, and it's Dylan, and they'll just. I asked Jamal Singleton about if he felt they needed one person to take on that Kenny Gainwell role, and he said, as long as you have multiple backs who can do different things, you can work around. You don't need a carbon copy, but he did say he felt Will Shipley's pass protection had come along well and he catches the ball well. So that would be ideally, that's a guy who can probably fill that role better. And then Dylan serves that, as you've talked about many times, and I think you're right about this, is you're the closer. You're up by 7, you're up by 10.
Or gotta be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Well,
that's true. That's true.
This is what John D. Filippo told me. He said it's got to be more than 2 touchdowns. And then you can pull the starter out.
Yeah, right? You wouldn't want to take Saquon Barkley out if you're.
Yeah, can you imagine if it's only 10 points? No, you've got to be more than 2 touchdowns. It could be 16, 17. Right. I just happened to ask him. I said, "What's your rule of thumb?" Because I've never really I could never quite figure it out. Because no, you want to be up by more than 2 touchdowns, then you can pull the starters out. Right. Or your running back, if you want to protect them, you'd be smart about it. But I would say with this, I'm not. I know Dylan has taken more of the twos. That's definitely the case, but. You mentioned it earlier when you talk about Dylan. When you see the difference between Shipley and Dylan, Dylan's got the juice. Dylan doesn't have any. Shipley's got the juice. Dylan doesn't really have any.
Yeah.
And situationally on Sunday's practice, Barkley was the hurry up for just about everything that I saw. Because Sirianni would take the bullhorn. All right, very calmly. 3 minutes left. Start at the 20. Whatever else he said, but clearly Barkley was in a lot of it. Like I know Shipley I saw last week, or a couple of practices he was a little bit of the hurry up, particularly in the 20 inside the 20.
Mm-hmm.
And situationally, Dylan, there's no way he's in. There's no way he's in. So something to watch. That's what I mean. How there could be different roles if you're trying to figure out for fantasy, because people wonder who's the main backup. The one thing I question with Shipley is what the scouts question. People who work for NFL teams question. Shipley is not really a volume back, though. It might say he's 212. He doesn't play to his listed size. That's a scouting term. He does not. Mm-hmm. He's small on the backside. He's just not built like Dylan. Not that anyone is, but you get my point. Not built like Barkley. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Montreal Johnson's bigger physically, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Not weight. I'm talking about frame, folks.
Frame,
people need to understand that. Yeah, they don't seem to get it.
Yeah. So that's the running back situation. At wide receiver, I mean, I don't know if this has stuck out to you. And the days I've been there, they've played a lot of 12 personnel.
Still doing it.
That was Devontae. Okay, so even with Devontae Smith back, they're still playing a lot of 12. So
well,
that's interesting.
Right. But when they go 11, there are 2 things I noticed. In fact, they did something with 21 with Van Sumerman, I'll mention in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But when they went to 12, Smith was really not practicing. So it was Brown and Dotson.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Brown and Marshall, because Marshall's ahead of Cooks and Wilson. And then when they went to 11, it was Brown, Dotson, and Ainias as the slot receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Dotson's the Z, Brown's the X, and Marshall's a backup X. And then what they also did with Smith back on Sunday, which is interesting. Well, it's funny, they had both Smiths out there. They had Smith. I didn't mark down whether he was a Z, but Ainias Smith was reduced as an outside receiver. You can't play him on wide splits. He's just not going to win.
Right.
And that's why he was drafted in the 5th round. But what they did is, it's interesting. This is a really cool formation. They had Barkley line up in the slot. Smith is the reduced receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran both across the middle, and Barkley had a nice catch. And see, the traffic with Smith and Barkley come over the middle. It's like, who do you cover?
Yeah.
It's just, you don't really see that. So I thought that was interesting. That
doesn't that feel like the carryover that they've kept from Kellen, is that when I've been there, they've played a ton of reduced split alignments. You just don't see a whole lot of guys flanked out wide. They're usually tighter. to line of scrimmage, and they're running those crossing routes, and they're running those rubs on the left or the right side.
I would say,
go ahead. I was gonna say that's predominantly what I've seen more so than your typical like 3x1 or 2x2 spread.
Oh, by the way, 2023, they were so wide with their receivers, and Doug was late in his tenure with the Eagles.
Yep.
You got to have guys who could win on the outside if you're going to play wide splits. Like you
definitely.
that's you got to be careful. Why do you think Sean McVay reduces his receivers? Because they can't win on the outside. True outside. Now, he might do it with Devontae Adams because Devontae could win that on the playing wide. Right. But he knew Kupp could win if you play him. It's really hard in man coverage to press a guy when they play inside.
Right.
It's really hard.
Yep. And then you give him a little more. You create traffic with the rubs and with the crossing routes.
Yeah.
And if you have guys who can catch the ball and get upfield like Nakua does really well and make contested catches, even in windows, then that works to your advantage. So it does look like in the offense I've seen that's what I'm seeing a lot of this year in training camp. Again, could be it's not that different. They did that a lot last year, but it seems like it's something that they're trying to carry over and keep in the offense.
Yeah, they did some 21 personnel before Van Sumer got hurt with him and Barkley, him and Shipley, and him and Dillon. And when you do that, you're going 2 backs, 2 tight ends and 1 receiver. However you want to, or 22 personnel is the other thing, which I just mentioned. But the 21 personnel is what the Niners do a ton with Kyle Juszczyk and with McCaffrey, because you want to have 2 backs in there. And that works, but the difference is Juszczyk doesn't really catch the ball as much as you would think. I'm surprised that obviously with McCaffrey, he's not going to catch the ball a lot, but Juszczyk was a tremendous athlete, come out of Harvard, but he was too short to play tight end. So I give them credit. It worked at moving him to fullback.
Let me ask you this about tight end. Were you the one that when we did the pre-roster 53-man at one point just kept 2? Either you or Andrew did. I
don't know.
2. Either way, I feel like if the Eagles had to make their 53 right now, knowing that what you can do on the practice squad to keep guys, I'm not sure anybody at tight end other than Goddard and Calcaterra make it because. And again, we're early. I'm not making any declarative sentences. We're just saying through this point in training camp, just haven't seen much from Kylan Granson's shown me a little bit, but he had a bad end zone drop, but it's not like he's getting open left and right either. Bryant, I barely see catching passes. EJ Jenkins has been injured. Like there's just not, they have all these tight ends that we talked about, but the guys catching passes are the same 2 guys we've seen for the last few years.
Nick Muse is out there. Harrison Bryant hasn't. Now, I'll say this about Harrison Bryant. He's got 3 preseason games to try to earn a roster spot. But the bottom line is Calcaterra is still ahead. I'm a little surprised no one's pushed him yet. Now, again, we've got the rest of training camp, 3 preseason games. Then post-training camp, the 2 weeks leading up to the season when sometimes guys take a step that the media doesn't get to see when they're not allowed in. But I do expect the 21 personnel, 2 backs, the 2 receivers and 1 tight end. 21, you'll see that. 22, you're going to see 2 as well. Because you just mentioned it, they could keep the 2 tight ends and have 1 or 2 on the practice squad, which is going to happen. They'll have at least 1, if not 2. So that's that.
All right, real quick on the one wide receiver we didn't talk about yet, and that's Elijah Woods, who continues to make plays. Elijah Cooks, I'm sorry, in training camp, big receiver, comes down with the ball, started to run a little bit with the 2s. Obviously, some of that is because they've had Marshall out and Devontae out, so it helps. But he deserves the opportunity. He's making some plays. What's your read on that right now?
So his knock, from what I understand, is that he has trouble separating. That was his problem. He ran in the 4.5s when he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Jaguars.
Right.
But here's what I love about this guy. His effort is clear. And he knows it. When you're a guy that's now on a second team and you've been cut before, you got to bring it. And he's bringing it and he's showing up and he makes more plays than Johnny Wilson does. And that's the bottom line. Johnny Wilson is off scholarship. He's got to earn his roster spot. You can't make the roster just because you can block.
Yep.
We know they're a running team, but Elijah Cooks has outperformed him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some Hank Basket vibes from Mr.
Not
Cook.
quite there. I hear you.
Catches and now he doesn't separate, but he can out jump
Hank
you.
Basket,
The same size.
I would say Hank Basket was the biggest surprise that I've ever seen a receiver in Eagles training camp.
He made like 5 catches of practice that blew you away. Yeah,
it was one of these like, is this ever going to stop? No, but what happens is because it's AAA, it's not the majors. The majors don't start till the regular season. He just became a below average player once the regular season started. That's why you got to take it for what it is.
Yep.
There's zero guarantee a guy's going to do it in the regular season. He couldn't do it.
There you go. All right, we'll continue to kind of monitor. We'll see how he does in the preseason game. I think it's going to be, no matter what he does, it's going to be tough for him to make the 53. I'm not sure how much special teams he's going to be involved with.
They both have to prove it on there. Goddard, Ringo did deflect one, but see the pass, I was right in front of me. Ringo deflected really. He just reached over with his left hand easily, but the pass should have been farther out from Hurts, out here. Now that's anticipation throw. It's just got to be, what the route is as the quarterback. It's just got to be out here. That's the stuff that reporters don't look for. That's stuff I've been taught by coaches for years. Look at where the pass ended up. Then it'll give you the answers to the test and why it was deflected. Almost always, that's the reason why. Now, could a guy get there late? Sometimes, sure. But this had nothing to do with lateness. It just had to be out there a little bit. But I love the way that Goddard through the seam is uncoverable. In fact, no, like Ringo made the play on him, but other than that, no one's covered him. I mean, honestly, he kind of toys with the defense. It's like at some point, will you guys get physical with him? Take him off his route? Anything?
Yeah, he's had a great camp. He's really looked good.
Crazy.
All right. Last thing on the offensive line. I'm wondering this because mostly what I've seen is Kendall Lamb running with the twos at left tackle. I've seen Kennard running with the twos on the right side. And I'm starting to wonder, because of what they have here, do they feel like maybe they don't need a swing tackle like they had at Fred Johnson? Meaning like if a left tackle gets hurt, do they just play Kendall Lamb at left tackle? If a right tackle gets hurt, do they just play Kennard or Matt Pryor there? I wonder if they just don't view these guys yet as having the optionality that they had with Fred Johnson, so that they just use one or the other.
Might be. I mean, Miles Hinton's just not ready. He's not ready to be the swing tackle, which he probably will be in a year or two to be the swing tackle. Kendall Lamb's on a 1-year deal. Yeah, and I haven't really seen him. Did you see him playing tackle, Matt Pryor? I forgot to look.
Yes, I saw him play some right tackle because the last practice I was at, Lane Johnson got like a couple of plays. Him and Dickerson were just getting plays off, like sort of like maintenance stuff. And so there was one point where the right guard was Steen, the left guard was Toth, the center was Juergens, and the right tackle was Pryor.
Okay, that's curious.
Yeah. So that's when I saw that is kind of when I wondered if maybe they're less inclined to have a quote unquote swing if they don't feel like either of those guys and just have
great. I never thought of it. That's a very fair point. That you got me thinking that's what we'll be looking for when we go back, but that's that.
Yeah. All right. So that is our offense. Of course, we'll have a ton of stuff more coming in the coming days and weeks. We'll go to the defense in a second. First, you got to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you go to Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, and it's beautiful, the weather's been great, get out in your car, go over to Sky Motor Cars, check out their inventory. Tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You'll get a great deal. You'll get great customer service, whether you're buying or selling or just browsing, because that's how great they are at Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, and check out their fantastic inventory.
Website, SkyMotorCars.com. Yeah, where if you live in California, you could actually order a car online. You can do
100%, and you will be 100% satisfied with it. All right, the defense. Man, we've been talking D-line a lot and observing, and clearly Moro Ajomo is a guy that we, again, he's he's got some really good skill set. His long arms to me are a real asset. The way he uses his hands, good feet. I mean, he really can step in there and be a good player. But I also have noticed, and I think you have too, that looks like those 2 second-year guys who came over last year in different ways, Gabe Hall and Byron Young.
Yeah,
they're getting some opportunities here to show themselves.
Yeah, Byron Young got work with the 2s on Sunday. Gabe Hall's getting some work with the 2s and 3s. Moro Joma, I got to sell him, so I'm just going to use it because I think this is the best way to look at Moro Joma, number 97, why he's so good. He's super slippery. He just has a way, because he's long, as the lineman will try, like in this case, he's lining a lot. He's lining over Steen quite a bit, not all the time, but a lot over Steen. Steen doesn't, you got it with Joma because he's got long arms. You've got to get him before he gets past you. He's just slippery.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that great first step. At the edge, it's interesting. I wasn't totally charting it. I know that Ojulari technically got the first snap, but Uche got more snaps of the ones than Ojulari on Sunday. Particularly over the last 3 to 4 practices, it seems like Uche is ahead of Ojulari, where Ojulari got all the work with the 2s. Like not all, but he got a majority of them the 2s the first 3 days. Mm-hmm. That's why we say we don't make any statements about after the first week of practice or first 3 days, which is the first week of practice because they started late.
Right.
Because you need time. You got to see how there's still when we get to the secondary, there's still a lot of working in other guys in the secondary. But you know what I did see Sunday? I saw twice where they shifted the defensive line late in the snap.
Okay.
Pretty cool. Where like Hunt right before the snap, Hunt moved and the D tackle moved.
Was there motion?
I can't remember. I've
seen a ton of motion. That's I've been talking about that with Andrew and you. That I've seen not like Shanahan style motion where there's multiple moving parts, but a lot of tight end motion, a lot of running back motion, pre-snap, where you just have a guy crossing the line of scrimmage, and that's usually where the defensive line will shift, but not always.
It was cool. I saw a couple of that. So that's kind of where it is.
Well, let me ask you this, because I have a slight concern that I'm not trying to make a big deal of, but like it was around this time last year, like when you're about 8 practices in, you got a preseason game coming up. Yeah. It was around this time last year where all of us seemed to observe like that. It just didn't seem like Bryce Huff was visible enough, like making an impact.
Yeah.
And as we sit here today, I cannot, outside of a little bit of Uche flashes here and there, Jalix Hunt here and there. I mean, obviously Nolan Smith was out a little bit with the concussion, but I just haven't really seen a whole lot of edge rush as a group, as a unit, as an individual. And I'm wondering at what point do we get to that point where we say this might be a little bit of a concern?
You mean overall the group?
Yeah. Like I said, I've seen a little flash of Jalix Hunt a little bit earlier in camp. Mm-hmm. I've seen a little bit of Uche, not like a ton, nothing to be honest.
He looks good, by the way.
Uche or Ojulari?
No, Uche looks pretty good. Yeah, he moves. He moves well. Now, I know he hadn't done anything for 2 years. Ojulari, he's high hipped. If you watch him, the way his body is. Mm-hmm. So Ojulari and Uche were on special teams. Watching them run downfield, Ojulari's got weird movement because of the way his body type is. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea how good he is on special teams, but Okonkwo is running with the third team mostly, sprinkled on the second team, and Powell Ryland's a ways away from contributing. I'm sure he'll be on the team because he was drafted in the 6th round.
Yeah,
and Patrick Johnson, and O'Shawn Mathis, you get worked in again. Depth, as we said for 8 years, is not about how many players you have; it's about the quality of the player.
Yep,
and I think it's fair. Like, no. You don't need to have an elite edge rusher to have a really good group. That's not necessary, but it'd be nice to have. You just have to have a couple guys that are good. I'm not sure how good of an edge rusher Jalix Hunt is. I'm just not there yet.
That's a good point. He is admitted he's working on a lot of things like hand usage. Now there's tape on him. So people know what his strengths are right now and know what his weaknesses are. So, and again, we're early, but it's fair because we brought it up last year about Bryce Huff. It turned out to be right. And I've seen nothing from Ojulari yet. Now I know he's a good player, so I'm not worried about it. It's not like I think Ojulari was all of a sudden going to go and not be a good pass rusher. He can win one-on-ones, but I'm not looking at one individual. I'm just looking as a whole and saying, I don't feel like the quarterback has felt a whole lot of edge pressure this camp. So
I would agree with you. Now there have been some where like if the first 3 days the offense was way ahead of the defense and the defense kind of is taken over to a degree.
Yep.
And obviously AJ Brown not practicing, Devontae Smith not practicing, it doesn't help.
Yep.
That's a big deal. But yeah, I would say the D line is really good. Like in terms of the Ojomo Davis slimmed down. He looks better. Carter got a lot of work on Sunday. That was good to see. Brian, we mentioned Byron Young and Gabe Hall's finally coming on.
Mm-hmm.
But they now I would also caution Nolan Smith did not do well in the training camp, didn't do well in the preseason. We laughed when he played against Baltimore. Like, oh my God, why is a starter playing in the preseason, Nolan Smith?
Right.
The tape, as Greg Cosell told us when we got notes from Greg, he said Smith couldn't win against backups.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh my God, what happened? Like, are they going to get this wrong? And then he did something like you don't normally see this. A guy all of a sudden shows up like 4 or 5 games in the regular season. You're like, wow, where the hell's this been for a year and a half?
Right.
You never know.
Never know. I think we talked about the linebackers already with Campbell is playing the Will and Trotter is playing the Mike. Mondon has been getting in there. I like Mondon's athleticism. I like his instinct. He honestly sort of blends Trotter and Campbell, whereas Trotter is not the great athlete, but he's played the position for a while. Campbell is only new to the position for a couple of years, but is a great athlete, where Mondon has played the position and is a good athlete, and he kind of blends both. So I know you remember you always talk about how in 2017 you promised people the Eagles would not be embarrassing anymore.
In 2017.
I'm sorry, 2023. I mean, right? No, 2022 when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yes,
right. That was
the linebackers.
Right? With TJ Edwards and
you have a good memory. I do remember because we were at training camp. I'm like, I can't believe it. They actually might be a competitive linebacker. This is breaking news.
Yeah,
anyway.
And I feel pretty good that this might be and again, take this with a grain of salt because we're talking about the Eagles. This might be the best overall collection of stacked linebackers they've had in quite a bit. I'm not saying they're infallible. I'm not saying that you can't find holes in their game and you won't be able to throw on them or anything. I'm not saying anything other than there's really good athleticism, there's good instincts, there's good understanding of the position. We didn't even talk about Zach Bond being part of that. He's an all-pro. It just feels like this is their deepest and most talented set of stacked linebackers in a while, but that's also a low bar for the Eagles.
Yeah, but the low bar is gone. It's really started with TJ Edwards' rise.
Yep.
He's an undrafted free agent, and Bond and Nakobe before he got hurt was borderline Pro Bowler. Bond was, as you said, was a first-team All-Pro. Trot, as we've noted before, did very well in practice last season. Mm-hmm. Campbell's got a chance to be a stud. Now he's just got to. He's relatively new to inside backer, so he's got to learn it. And Mondon, was a talented guy. So, boy, that Lance Dixon Lance Dixon, number 41, makes some plays.
He's a pretty good athlete.
Yeah, he's a little bit older because he bounced around from school to school.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. They're really loaded. They have enough guys right now, even without Bond. They have just enough to be able to field 3 teams.
There you go. All right, let's go to the secondary. The practice you were at on Sunday, who took the first team reps who started off on the first team? Ringo or was it Adoree?
Adoree took a majority of them. Adoree Jackson, number 8.
Okay.
Where Gardner Johnson's
had been Ringo, I think, the day before. This is definitely more of a 50-50 than it was last year where it was over.
Oh, it's Jackson's taken more ones than Ringo, but it's even. Yeah. They're not going to know yet. As a matter of fact, look, I'll say this, and we're going to look into we'll go over the free agent list because this has got to be discussed. If someone doesn't emerge to be the guy, and it's clear that the guy's not only doing better than the other guy, that it's clear that the guy's actually looking pretty good. But if it's not, we're going to start looking at that free agent list and then potential for trade because you don't need 13 picks next year. Nobody picks 13 players. This team doesn't need 13 new players next year. A draft pick. So that's Adoree Jackson moves fine, and he could play inside or outside, but it's just not good enough right now. Let's call it like it is. It's just not good enough. Yeah,
it's hard to tell. It's just camp. Defense has played well. I just think that Vic needs to see them play football. I think these, we talked about this, me and Andrew, I think, or me and Mike Gill in one of the Football at Fours. This is going to be a year where I think you're going to see potential starters playing in the preseason because Vic doesn't know who's starters yet. I mean, you have to play.
You might be right.
And Kelee Ringo. You have to play Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Smile Monda. You have to play these safeties who are competing because you've got to evaluate them.
All right, so Sidney Brown is still working with the ones. Makuba's working his way back. He got some work on Sunday. Now, because he's had a shoulder injury, are you going to put him out there are you going to put him out there Thursday? That's that'll be interesting to see what happens there. He needs the reps. He needs the reps. Max and Hook, number 37, got some second team reps.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, a little bit, not a lot. Andre Sam's there. And Eli Ricks working with the twos a lot. Yeah, he's good for him because this staff buried him as soon as they got him last year. They buried him.
Yeah,
depth chart. Good for him that he's competing for a spot. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and he's practicing well. It'd be interesting. I think the preseason games will be really, really good for him to really see his development. Nice to hear about Max and Hook getting work with the twos. Obviously, some of that is Makuba being limited, and who else is out? And Steen is out, right?
That's right. Right. Well, although Steen, I know he got a little bit of work with the twos, but he's worked almost all threes. Yeah, they were down. They were down 2 safeties. So that's why he got to look there. But look, he looks the part. Like he's got good size. It's just he's not a great athlete.
All right, good stuff. The best part is the Eagles practice again today, and then you, me, and Andrew will do another pod after that practice, and that'll be out Tuesday. So we've been pumping out these great observational podcasts, intel-based podcasts off these practices, and I'm enjoying it. So that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.